Hello and welcome to TABCAST, the official podcast series by Tab Group. I am your host for today, Tanya, and we are diving deep into the future of food and how vertical farming, AI, and sustainable innovation are shaping the next decade of agriculture. Our guest for today is Mr. Gaurav Sharma, who's currently leading global agribusiness research at Accenture India. Gaurav, how are you doing, and what are your thoughts for today's podcast?
Hi, Tanya. Good morning, and thank you very much for inviting me on this podcast. So I'm doing good. I am based in Bangalore, and we have a very nice weather in Bangalore. Can't say the same for other parts of India as of now. And yeah, I'm very excited for this podcast because uh, agribusiness as an industry, I mean, we are seeing a lot of disruptions. We are seeing a lot of development. So I think it's a very opportune time to discuss all these topics, and we couldn't have a better platform as I mean, we have like GVF, Vertical Farming Conference in UAE, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely, Gaurav. And as you mentioned, this episode is actually part of our special series where we want to highlight the sixth Global Vertical Farming Show. For everybody who's listening, it's going to take place in Dubai this year on the 10th and 11th of September 2025. So, Gaurav, very excited to have you on the podcast, considering the kind of background and expertise you've had. And we've had the pleasure to have you in our previous event edition as well. So, I
Yeah.
think without a further ado, let's jump right in. Gaurav, we are at a pivotal moment for global agriculture today. And in your view, what are the most pressing systemic shifts pursuing agri-food leaders to rethink that strategy? I mean, how to take it beyond just production to resilience, climate, and tech-led transformation?
Right. So I think this is a very good question to start with because what we are witnessing in today's world is I would say, multifaceted systemic shift. So there are multiple forces at play. If we talk about the usual suspects, agribusiness challenges, we have the sustainability challenges, where agribusiness or farming consumes a lot of water. It is also one of the biggest source of greenhouse gas emissions. Similarly, we talk about the climate change. So a lot of food losses are associated with climate change. Similarly, if we talk about soil degradation, so 33% of our arable land is moderately to highly degraded, and it is again a big challenge for the food production systems. Food loss again is a very big factor at play. 40% of the food is actually lost before reaching the consumer, and food waste also accounts for 10% of GHG emissions. So I think all these factors are at play. At the same point of time, if you talk about the agri commodity markets or the prices, we are seeing a decline in the agri commodity prices in the last, I would say, 2 to 3 years. And there is a lot of pressure on the profitability and revenues of these companies. And they are trying to, take various steps to mitigate these challenges. Similarly, if you go further in the agri value chain, we are seeing a lot of efforts or initiatives from the food and beverages companies where they're trying to pursue more sustainable, uh, I would say, venues for agriculture or sourcing. And a lot of companies, they are trying to source the crops and ingredients, and they have targets for 2030 or 2040 where they want to source 100% of their crops and ingredients by 2030. Similarly, we see a lot of companies having lower emission targets by 2030 or net zero emissions by 2050. So this again becomes very critical for the entire agri value chain. And then we see a strong push for regenerative agriculture or sustainable agriculture. And a lot of companies, be it the agrochemical companies, or be it the agribusiness companies, or be it the CPG companies, they're all trying to uh, get the farmers or the farmland practice regenerative agriculture, which also helps the overall cause. So again, if you look at the another, uh, I would say, stakeholder in this whole value chain, it's the consumers, and they are demanding more healthier food, nutritious food, sustainable food, as per a lot of surveys. I mean, so this is something which is also driving the actions of all the big companies. Now, this is
Absolutely.
further, I would say, complicated with the geopolitical and trade disruptions, and there's a strong need for food security, securing food value chains, need for localized foods. And we also combine this with a lot of, I would say, regulations, policies, which are now driving the, I would say, promotion or adoption of sustainable food. So, I mean, just to give a flavor, US, they want to reduce the 50%, uh, they want to have a 50% reduction in their agricultural footprint by 2050. Similarly, European Union, they want to bring 25% of their farmland under organic farming by 2030. And similarly for Asia, including India, there is a strong push on biologicals or biofertilizers, organic farming. So I would say all the right areas. And
Right.
then combine this lastly with the regulations where they want the consumers to have safer food and more healthier food. I mean, we have heard about MAHA, which is the Make America Healthy Again campaign, or Eat Right India, Healthy China 2030. So I
Mm.
think all these are probably driving a greater shift towards more healthier and nutritious food, I would say.
No,
Yeah.
absolutely. I think you're absolutely correct. And with the kind of stats and examples that you've just provided, I think it really draws an example as to how, it is important to frame resilience, not just an add-on supplement anymore, but also as a core operating principle. And like you mentioned, that in the face of climate volatility or global shocks, it is important to have a mindset shift. I mean, the need to have more and more sustainable food production channels has become really upfront and important in today's time. So I think those are some good insights. So Gaurav, moving forward, let's talk about data. When you think about data-driven agriculture, how has the role of data evolved from being just operational to strategic in global agribusiness? I mean, there have been so many technologies in the face of AI that are budding. So if you were to manage climate risk, traceability, etc., how would you address something like that?
So, I mean, it's a very timely question because we have seen a very, I would say, exponential shift where we used to see data earlier more for operational support in agriculture. Now it has become a core strategic enabler for agriculture, and more or less here, precision agriculture or digital agriculture is at play while we are trying to use data as a strategic enabler. So, to give you examples, I mean, earlier in the days, we used to have data uh, for yield tracking. It was used in the fields to track the yields or the farm inputs. Now, if we see the new shift, we are seeing data as an enabler for predictive analytics and climate models, where it is giving a lot of information to farmers and helping them for adaptive planting, irrigation, or risk mitigation strategies at scale. Similarly, earlier data used to, we used to use the data for tracking inventory or logistics within the supply chain. Now, I mean, with blockchain and IoT enabled end-to-end traceability is there using data. We can also ensure the food safety, quality, and compliance with the ESG mandates. Similarly, again, earlier data was also using or being used for controlling fertilizer or water usage. But with the new artificial intelligence or machine learning models using data, we are seeing things like optimized seeding, nutrient management, precision agri irrigation, or reducing cost and environmental impact.
Right.
So I think with all these things, with precision farming and digital farming, data has become kind of a strategic backbone of resilient and sustainable, future-ready agribusiness models, I would say.
Absolutely. I think that's a fascinating example, Gaurav, and it really illustrates how AI is not simply, futuristic anymore. It's actually actionable, accessible, and very deeply rooted in solving real agri challenges in today's time. And it's really like it's out there, it's up front. We cannot neglect it. So, thank you for that answer. Now, moving forward, Gaurav, of course, many agri-tech innovations are still facing scale and adoption challenges. So, in your experience as an agribusiness leader, what are the most common barriers that agri-food organizations face when integrating AI or analytics into traditional farming, or, for example, let's say food chain supply systems?
So sure, I mean, I would say these challenges have been there for quite some time, and the ones that come to my mind immediately, one is the data gaps and fragmentation. So there is a lot of inconsistent or unstructured or inaccessible farm data, which also limits the effectiveness of AI models. Similarly, if we talk about the digital infrastructure, then again, we see sometimes a lot of constraints in the rural areas, especially where we have poor rural connectivity or limited access to smart devices. So it also, I would say, hinders adoption of precision farming or digital farming. Again, for the farmers, especially in developing countries, there is a lower digital literacy, and they may lack the skills or confidence to use AI-driven tools effectively. And this combined with, I would say, trust and trust and cultural resistance, because there might be some skepticism that should we use the machine-led decisions, or resistance. There could be a resistance from farmers to change from traditional practices. Again, there could be, slightly lack of localization also. When we use these models, I mean, we might be using global models, but for India, or even for, various states of bigger countries like India, there could be different local factors at play. So I think all these factors become very important while actually trying to integrating AI or analytics into traditional farming or food
Right.
supply system.
Absolutely. I think I personally even believe that. And in my recent experience of having these discussions, I've really felt that, everybody has this thought that tech is ready for sure, but the human and institutional side of things often needs that sort of a catching up from time to time. I mean, whether it's training, trust, or infrastructure, it is important to bridge that last mile and how to, take that work that we're wanting to eventually plan successfully and implement successfully. So I think I agree upon that. Now we're seeing ESG demands tighten, Gaurav, and also the idea of fulfilling SDG goals, as you mentioned in the beginning, especially from regulators and global investors. So how are sustainability metrics influencing agri-food businesses today? I mean, not just in terms of reporting, but also, making it a priority.
No, again, this is a very, very important, I would say, area, and this is being discussed very frequently in the agri-food boardrooms.
Right.
When you talk to the lot of companies in this sector. So I think there are a lot of factors which come up in these discussions. So one, I mean, what do they decide as their strategic investment decisions? We see a lot of capital is being prioritized for low carbon technologies or regenerative agriculture or circular systems based on ESG performance.
Mm,
Similarly, I mean, uh, they're trying to reframe the risk management, climate, water, biodiversity risks are now board level concerns. And we look at metrics like scope 3 emissions or physical climate risk. Then again, I mean, to uh, align the efforts of the leadership, they're trying to tie the executive compensation with KPIs such as GHG reduction or sustainable sourcing or the waste targets. So increasingly, we are seeing these being linked to the leadership incentives. Again, I mean, for expansion, uh, the M&A or partnerships, ESG compatibility is a key criterion uh, where I mean they try to find a right fit in terms of these KPIs.
right.
Similarly, if you look at the financing part, I think high ESG scores they enable access to green bonds or sustainability linked loans and premium investor interest. So I think this is again a very important component of the discussions amongst the CEOs.
Mm,
And last but not the least, I would say uh, they're also trying to shape the product and portfolio strategy, and especially for the consumer-facing metrics like carbon footprint per product or eco-labeling. I think they're trying to pursue using innovation or reformulation or branding, and trying to convey a clear message to the consumers as well.
right. Thank you for sharing that. And I believe ESG is no longer just a box to check, as you mentioned very clearly, that it is in today's time influencing capital flows. It is influencing partnerships between companies, between CEOs, the kind of ideas that are being exchanged. And I think eventually building up that idea of a long-term vision for this agribusiness. So thank you for sharing that. Let's now shift to controlled environment agriculture, Gaurav. From a system level perspective, how does vertical farming fit into the future of food production? I mean, that is the core area that we are also exploring, especially in regions struggling with land struggling with water and supply chain volatility?
No, so this is a topic which is very close to our heart. So I think 1 or 2 years back, Accenture also published a controlled environment agriculture study, and it was also picked up by media. And we did a very detailed analysis on the future of CEA or vertical farming. And we all know, I mean, there have been some challenges on economics or energy consumption, but I think we are going to discuss that. But with these challenges, I think the companies that sail through these challenges, they would probably emerge stronger, and we would have more success with CEA in the future. Talking about how does it fit into the future of food production? So I think all the challenges I mentioned, I think to answer your first question, that we have lesser arable land. So CEA, I mean, they can give the yields up to 390 times more than the traditional agriculture. Then we are talking about 11% of water being used uh, for conventional farming. Now in CEA, as compared to traditional farming, it uses up to 95% less water. Similarly, in controlled environment agriculture or vertical farming, we can have more healthier and safer food with zero pesticides, or we can see like superior flavors or lesser nutrient depletion. Again, since the vertical farms, they're near to the consumers because they are in the urban areas or near to the urban areas. They have shorter supply chains, so we see lesser transportation emissions, and supply chain risks are also greatly reduced. Uh, Compared to, I mean, traditional farming, only 5 to 10% of the produce is lost or wasted in vertical farms, whereas in conventional farming, nearly 40% of the food is actually wasted in the supply chains. Similarly, CEA farms, they are not dependent on the seasons, so they can have, yield up to 12 to 20 harvests per year compared to three crop turns, I would say, for traditional farming. And to say that they're much safer, I can give you an example. I think it was 5, 6 years back, US CDC, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, sometime they issued a warning against consuming lettuce from Salinas, California, due to a possible E. coli bacterial contamination. However, because the vertical farms of CEA, it is considered to be much safe for any kind of contamination. So they exempted the lettuce grown indoors in greenhouses or hydroponically from this warning. So again, shows that what kind of advantages the CEA have. And last but not the least, I think for a lot of countries where food security is a challenge or supply chain disruptions is a challenge, uh, and they import 80 to 90% of their food requirements. I think this is again a great way to, I would say, complement their agriculture needs along with the traditional farming. So the countries which I can think about, I mean UAE, the Singapore, some of the obvious names,
Right.
which are very focused right now on adoption of CEA or vertical farming.
Exactly. And very correctly, you mentioned, Gaurav, that much of the value proposition of vertical farming or the CEA is actually tied to metrics, shorter supply chains, fewer emissions, water efficiency, way less loss of crops, etc. So, how important is it for the sector to build a rigorous, transparent data around these sustainability claims to earn the kind of market trust that it needs?
No, absolutely. I mean, it's a great question because in the past, we have seen a lot of greenwashing happening in the industry, and which has, sometimes dented the consumer trust or the investor trust. So it is, I would say, one of the top considerations that they need to earn that trust. And for this, definitely there has to be clear, quantifiable metrics. Could be like liters of water saved or food miles reduced, and they should be very transparent in reporting all these metrics with their buyers, retailers, or investors. Similarly, I mean, with this, you also get access to higher investor confidence and capital access. And when these metrics are transparently shared with everyone, so I think it also helps the investors to justify the capital allocation. and demonstrating measurable impact. For example, carbon dioxide per kg of produce. So it also helps in supporting the premium valuations
Right.
and green financing eligibility. Similarly, if you see coming out with this data in a very transparent manner, it also helps for the regulatory readiness for any kind of environmental disclosures. And again, I mean, on the B2B side, retailers, food service, or the CPG partners, they want quantifiable benefits to align with their own ESG goals. So I
Right.
think uh, it really helps to differentiate from traditional agriculture, and it also, gives a lot of competitive differentiation.
Exactly. I think very correctly mentioned, Gaurav, and I believe that credibility and uh, the balance is really the holy grail of this sector, and it is also encouraging, to see how innovators, investors are already finding a lot of sweet spots through renewable energy and smart designs to actually create a booming industry in the CEA vertical farming sector. So, do you see a pathway where vertical farming complements and not replaces traditional agriculture? I mean, there has been a constant debate about this, and how might both systems work together to, address some of the region-specific food security and climate goals?
Sure. So uh, I would say definitely the vertical farming or CA, it complements the traditional agriculture, and it it could be on multiple fronts, I would say. So for example, vertical farming, they are likely to focus more on high value or perishable crops, could be leafy greens, microgreens, herbs, and even now we are talking about the tier two crops like berries or vine vegetables, where we have seen a lot of success with the vertical farms recently. However, the traditional agriculture, they will continue to focus on producing staples. Of course, I mean, we all know that there is a limitation right now with CEA to pursue the production of staples in a economical manner.
Right.
Similarly, I mean, we can think about the urban rural strategy. So vertical farms, they're trying to localize the production in urban areas, or reducing transport emissions, easing the pressure on supply chains. Again, I think Indo farms, they offer a climate-proof yield stability during extreme weather conditions like droughts, floods, or even pest outbreaks. And again, supporting the regional food resilience. And
Right.
last but not the least, I mean, vertical farms, they meet year-round demand, just-in-time demand for retail and food service. Whereas the traditional farming, I think they will supply bulk and seasonal volumes. Again, I mean, on a different note, there are, different, I would say, routes also where, CEA complements traditional farming. So one example is that CEA facilities and processes, they are also being used to speed up the seed genetics R&D by helping to create a faster go-to-market time for new seed varieties. And many of the top agrochemical companies, they have been doing this, and they witnessed that the whole process to use CA facilities to speed seed genetics. It helped them to reduce the genetic development time of different seed varieties by up to 25%. So I think it
Right.
again shows that how using novel ways, both these farming methods can complement each other.
Exactly. I think, as we also mentioned it previously, that
Yeah,
striking the balance is really the name of the game. So,
yeah.
Gaurav, you have, as I mentioned in the beginning as well, you have been a part with us of the Global Vertical Farming Show previous edition. Now, as we approach the sixth Global Vertical Farming Show in Dubai, I really want to ask you, what do you think are some of the key conversations or collaborations that we can hope to drive forward, particularly around AI, sustainability metrics, and the broader vision for the future of agri-food systems?
So I would say, if I think a lot of people probably they would want to talk about that, what is important to make or ensure the success of CEA or vertical farming. So I think there are multiple factors that should be considered in these conversations. So one, to build a very strong case for the emissions or low carbon farming, I think one should focus on that. The energy for these vertical farms is being sourced from renewables. And I mean, this is very important, and solar is also on track to become the cheapest energy source in the US, China, India, and many other countries by 2030. So I think it aligns very well with the focus areas for vertical farms. I think again, technically, companies and vertical farms, they're focusing to uh, improve the LED energy efficiency, and this is very crucial because LED lighting, it accounts for nearly 50 to 60% of energy usage in a typical vertical farm.
Right.
And right now, I think we are at a certain threshold of efficiency between 55 to 60%, and there is a limit to what it can be increased. But uh, in the next few years, the experts, they foresee LED efficiency going higher up, which will also, reduce the energy usage in the vertical farms.
Right.
Similarly, I think they should also try to follow novel ways to provide energy to vertical farms. So some CEA facilities in the UK, uh, they're trying to, negate the carbon footprint by locating their or co-locating their buildings adjacent to those that give off excess heat and energy. And this is also probably a successful model.
Right.
And I think last but not the least, innovation in plant sciences, it is going to continue to play a very big role in CEA. Advances in genetics that optimize the plants for CEA environments will translate to higher productivity and lower carbon emissions. And the crops will be able to grow faster, better in these environments.
Right.
And these advancements would significantly increase the production ratio for the CEA operations, increasing their efficiency and most importantly, profitability. And
Exactly.
I mean, few CA experts we had talked to, they estimated that this could increase the productivity by at least 25 to 30% over the next 5 to 10 years using the innovation in plant sizes. So I think these are the main areas where the focus should be there. And goes without saying, AI and machine learning, they would have a very, very important part for overall, I mean, operations of the vertical farms of CEA to make them more efficient.
Absolutely. I think that was a very strong call to action, Gaurav. And we are also really excited to see amazing partnerships and ideas that are currently emerging from this year's show as well as the industry right now. Thank you so much for all those great insights. And with that, we wrap up another powerful episode of TABCAST. A big thank you to you, Gaurav, for sharing all of those insightful dialogues, and to our listeners. We would really want you to stay curious and informed. And that is about it. Don't forget to register for the sixth Global Vertical Farming Show. Thank you, Gaurav, for being here.
Thank you very much, Tanya, and it was great to join you on this platform.
Mhm.
And this is the least we could do for any kind of event where we are trying to highlight all the challenges with agribusiness and how all the stakeholders they can work together to have more sustainable food for the
Right.
generations to come.
Absolutely. I think I completely agree. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tanya.